Interpretive here at Echo. I'm going to be taking you guys on the Interpretive Trail today. So the Interpretive Trail is kind of cool. It was the first ever trail built here at Echo. So it was built in 1988 and is one of our most popular ones. We get a nice view of the valley from the top. We get to walk along the prairie and in some of the coulees. So we're going to head over to the trailhead there, not far away. If you guys have any questions along the way, I will do my best to answer them. So we'll just head straight over to the trailhead here. Absolutely.
Live na mo dyan?
Yeah.
I-post na mo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Live ka?
We'll just be up at the trailhead.
Imo na i-post, di pa?
Hindi pa. Ano man?
Wala. Sila, kuyog dito mo siya.
Oh, kaya muna yun ang assistant.
Yeah. What do you think we're going to find?
Basta.
So cute.
Yung first step na to.
All right. So this is the trailhead for the Interpretive Trail. Now, one thing I'm going to kind of point out before we get started, there is quite a bit of poison ivy in the park and on this trail.
You listen.
So we have a little picture of it right here, but I will point it out when we get to it. It's not as much of a concern this time of year. The way poison ivy works is poison ivy has kind of an oily, waxy coating on the leaf. So that's what actually gives you the reaction. And by this time of year, you'll see the leaves are kind of turning yellow and orange, and it's mostly dried out. But still, just to be safe, not to touch it. If you ever do touch poison ivy, don't touch anything else, like your face or anything. So what happens is that oily substance transfers onto other things. So even just by touching it, you can get it in other places if you touch your skin other places. So just a little hint, like I said, I'll point it out when we get up there. We're gonna do some stops along the way where I'll kind of talk about things. And we can have some water breaks. There's lots of nice areas for pictures and stuff. So feel free, we can stop, take some pictures, have a drink. Like I said, if you have any questions along the way, just yell them at me. I will do my best to answer them. All right, I think we're waiting on one more person and then we'll get going. Do you guys have any questions before we start? So if you don't know what a plant is, I always say it's best not to touch it if you don't know what it is, okay? So I'll point out a couple that we can touch. If you don't know what it is, just best be on the safe side and not touch any poison ivy if you don't know what it is. Sound good?
Yes,
Awesome.
ma'am.
All right, let's get going.
Kawit, alam. Don't touch anything. Enjoy na ba siya?
Mana?
Two staircases on this trail. I always tell everyone just be a little careful. The staircase is built a little funny and the spacing on the steps is a little weird. So just take it slow.
Stir in head.
Hold on.
Post about in the SAS Park. Do we see our picture in the SAS Park website? Is that what you do? Alright.
Probably not. This is more just for documentation.
Oh, okay.
How's it going, guys?
Awesome.
Right here with the big jagged edges, those are going to be poison ivy. So in the summer, It's really easy to identify. They're really bright green and they're very shiny because of that waxy coating. So nice jagged edge, different than something like this that has a rounded edge. So really big leaves, jagged edge, and in the summer really bright green and shiny. So just to look out for those ones.
Bidig magligid-ligid kayo, kay hubog ka ba? Take you to craving, you know?
That does match up with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you can go that way to where the guys are, and then there's Sean Selby.
It's city crowd?
I see the crowd, yeah. Whoa.
Hindi na guys, di ba dyan ako?
So up here we get a really nice view. Right in front here we have Haskell Lake. So this is actually a chain of 4 lakes. We have Haskell Lake, Echo Lake, Mission Lake, and Qu'Appelle Lake. So Haskell Lake here is one of the shallowest lakes in the chain with about 50 feet deep. And then they gradually get deeper as we go on. So what kind of fish do you guys think are in this lake? Anyone have any idea about what fish are in the lake? Walleye, pike, yeah, perch.
Yeah, perch.
Yep.
Bill.
Carp. Yep, carp. Some tullaby, burbot. The carp I'll touch on a little bit. So carp are in the same family as like a goldfish and a koi fish. So they look really similar. The mouth are the same and they have different tails. So they're an invasive species here in Saskatchewan. And if you were out here at all this summer, you would notice there was a lot of dead fish on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happened was these fish are an invasive species and they hang out kind of up near the surface. Now we saw a large number of dead fish in Haskell Lake because it is one of the shallowest. And because of how warm it was this summer, the water got a lot warmer. And up near the surface, they didn't have enough oxygen, so they all died. So the native species to Saskatchewan knew to go down deeper in the lake where they could survive better. But these carp don't have those same instincts as the native species, so they all died because they were up near the surface. So we saw more of them dying because of how shallow Haskell Lake is, as opposed to Echo, Mission, and Qu'Appelle. So the interesting thing about invasive species here is lots of people think by taking them out of the lake, it's better, right? They're all dying. But they're like goldfish. If you put a goldfish in a really big tank, they're going to grow big. If you put them in a little tank, they're not going to grow big. So what happens is the more space carp have, the more they can populate and the bigger they can grow. So what we saw this summer with all these carp dying, probably in the next 2 years here, we'll actually see a boom in population because they now have more space to start over. So I always tell people if you catch a carp, if you're ever fishing, people think it's better to not put it back, but it's actually better for the population to put it back and sustain that population as opposed to taking one fish out where they'll fill that space with 2 fish. So yeah, just a little piece. Lots of people ask about carp because our park smelled like dead fish all summer. So but yeah, take some pictures in this spot and then we will continue up the trail.
Asam ka ba doon?
Ganun mo itong gipantag mo. Sa kuwan? Wala pula, wala kinipula dirigit. Ano ka? Gamay ra.
Right up ahead here is the steepest part of the trail. So if you can tackle this, you can tackle any part of the trail. We will take a break once we get to the top.
Alright. We're ready, but we're gonna go up on the steepest one. What? Yeah. And you tackle it.
Wala guys. Nakawon. See? Parang na-celebrate Jaime, no?
Oh.
Mas grabe pa celebrate, no?
Grabe ito sa libre.
Oh.
You're so good, Daddy. Nothing is telling me.
Yeah, we'll take a rest when we reach the top.
I am tired.
What happened, Brits? You're tired?
Ikaw ang pagunit niya, Dere.
Come here, come here. Oh.
Awa na like wintang sa libre.
They take. Oh, I love.
Wow.
Let's go.
Okay, Brits, you can take a rest here.
Awesome, good job guys. We're gonna take a little break up here. Take a nice water break, take a breather.
Made it, but a little bit struggle.
And like I said, hardest part of the hike. If you can do that, the rest of the hike is a breeze. So up top here, looking over all the trees, this is a great spot to look at as the trees and the leaves are changing color. So does anyone know why leaves change color? Why do they change from green to orange?
It gets dry. Or
That's part of it, yeah. So inside leaves, there's something called chlorophyll, which is bright green, right? And chlorophyll is a key component of photosynthesis, which is how the plant takes sunlight and uses it to get energy and food. So what happens is as the days get shorter and we have less sunlight, leaves start producing less and less chlorophyll. And that means the leaves will start to change color. And as the weather gets colder, leaves die and fall off. Yeah, so you can see as we're looking out, you can see it right here. Lots of our bigger trees are still pretty green. And these kind of smaller ones are yellow or orange. So the bigger ones, a little bit more mature, now they have more experience with this, right? They have more experience with winter and the changing of the season. So they're going to take a little bit longer to change. It can have something to do with the genetics of the tree, the type of the tree, and the maturity of the tree, which will determine how long they take to change. So as we continue up here, we're going to start to see the landscape change as we come out of this coulee and we move more into the prairie landscape. And we can look at some of the prairie plants and animals. We're going to get out of this kind of coulee areas. So we're going to continue up this way.
Coulee.
Then and carry them.
What?
Skating trails. Yeah, so we have 2 kilometers of skating trails. Which are really nice for the evening. We light them all up with Christmas lights. Wow. You can come out.
Musuway sa experience na ba? Magsapatos na itong lagpad kayo ba? Guwapo ba ito?
Ang pang scuba?
Hindi ito lapad kayo.
But I like to talk about some of the trees and stuff that we have here in the park. So right here, we've got an aspen tree. Lots of people, it looks similar to like a birch tree. Lots of people confuse it because the bark looks similar. One thing I like to do, if you're not sure if it's an aspen or a birch tree, go up to the tree, rub your hand on it, and you're gonna get this like white powder on your hands. Now this white powder, you can try it if you want. This white powder was traditionally used by the indigenous people here in Saskatchewan as a sunscreen. So it has an SPF of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, some people would rub it off the tree and then rub it on their face. So
sunscreen.
yeah, so it has an SPF of 5. So not the greatest protection, but better than nothing. Yeah, absolutely. So the other cool thing about aspen trees is the largest organism in the world is an aspen grove. So what happens is, unlike trees like conifers, which produce cones, and that's how the seeds then reproduce, aspen trees, they grow out their roots and little trees grow up from the roots. So all the trees are connected. So if you look in this one area here, all these aspen trees in this area is one tree. Yeah. So you can see as you're walking, aspen trees will grow in little groups or little groves. So the largest organism in the world is an aspen grove in Colorado.
Yeah. That's the name of the city, right?
Yeah,
Aspen,
yeah.
Colorado.
So it's really, yeah, it's a really interesting tree. But like I said, similar to birch, so if you ever aren't sure, go up, touch it, and if you get that white powder on your hands, it's an aspen tree. The other neat
Let me
one
see
is
here.
actually right beside it here. Be a little bit more careful about touching this one. This one is a hawthorne bush. So if you come up to it, it has these huge thorns on it. So this was also another plant that the indigenous people used. So what they did is they would take off these big hawthorns and use them as sewing needles. So they're a little bit flexible and really, really sharp. So they also, in kind of middle of July, hawthorn bushes will grow berries, and the berries are actually
Mas
edible.
man na.
Like here,
So
it's
that's
like a
another
needle.
cool one.
What's the name of this?
Hawthorn.
Hawthorne. Oh yeah, very sharp.
Chicha.
Ang bata,
Use Saskatoon berry and choke cherry bushes incorporated in, but most of those berries are gone by this time of year.
Ug tagpila ang di na sila na parts ng job siguro. Magkano ito tissue ba? Unsa magkano?
Dams over there. Those are sprinklers. They are sprinklers that are used to drain our sewage lagoon. So when our sewage lagoon gets full, we turn the sprinklers on. It is treated, so it is not harmful. However, if you ever see these sprinklers on, I wouldn't run through them. Now, we usually close the trail when they're on, but that's why we have a farmer bale this area so that we can use those sprinklers. So I like to point that out before everyone goes running into the field to take pictures with the bales. So on a nice hot day, sprinkler seems like a good idea, but I would avoid these ones.
I got one question.
Yeah. These hay bales, so a farmer bales this area, and then he takes it for his livestock.
Like the cow eat those?
Yep.
Like when it's dry or what?
Yep.
Just like that?
Yeah, he'll bale this area. He takes the hay bales out to farmland, and they cut them open. And yeah, they'll cut them open.
They're not grind. Not gonna grind it. And
No,
mix with the
no.
Okay.
Yeah. So what they'll do is there's different types of bales that offer different nutrients and proteins to livestock. So in the summer, they just, not this specific area, but they just graze the pasture, right? So in the winter, they bring the pasture to the cattle because it's all under snow. So they'll bale it, bring the bales out, and cut them open so that there's hay everywhere that the livestock can make.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Just wondering how much the price for one.
I do not know that. I honestly am not sure. I've never bought a bale before. So I'm not 100% sure on that.
We Google it and it says 275.
I think it would depend on where you bought it from. You can buy smaller bales. Like we buy the square bales to use in the winter out here for seeding around our skating trails. $20 to $50 depending on where you get them from. Yeah. Yeah, and they're like they use them for cattle and livestock that we sit on. Yeah, so it really depends.
This printer looks like a tripod to me.
Yeah. We plant like different types of spruce trees and pine and those because they're good wind blocks. They're not native to this area. In a provincial park, yeah. You can't pick or remove anything from a provincial park.
Sabi pa. Sige, ka na ko, Bi. Sige, paano ko? Sige. Bi, paling. Sige, paano ko ba? Di ba? Ang puta. Yung layat ha.
So this is always a good spot to kind of talk about the prairies. So if you look kind of right here, we have, all of this looks like grass, but prairie landscapes are actually hugely diverse landscape. So on average, in a 1 foot square, 1 by 1 feet, there will be an average of 37 different species in that 1 square foot. So that can be grass and different plants. So that's how it's one of the most diverse landscapes because of how much diversity is packed into such a small area. So we look out over it and it's actually an extremely diverse.
One Anton dito high my shoulders. Go. Are you good?
Is that better?
We're almost done.
What is that?
So that's our warm-up shack for the winter. So we have cross-country ski trails that go all throughout this area. And we have two different warm-up shacks. So they have a wood stove in them.
Wow.
If you're cross-country skiing,
Yeah.
you can stop and warm up, cook some food.
Nice.
Yeah.
But can't stay overnight.
Not overnight, no. It's just like a one-room thing.
One-room thing.
Yeah.
So you can bring your own food.
Yep, yeah, and there's wood in there and a big wood stove. It gets nice and warm up there. If you're snowshoeing, hiking, or skiing, you can then warm up.
We should do that.
There's that one there, and then there's a second one, which if you go back up the highway, kind of up towards the visitor center,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a parking lot on your right.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one right there as well.
Kan nak pergi dah movie tu. Ayan.
Get on top of the hill
Pangupot
with the big binoculars and watch people fishing. So if they're doing anything illegal, they can radio to the unit down below. So that's what that road is for. That's where the conservation officers sit. We'll take a little break here right in the shade before we head back down the stairs.
Oh, okay.
There's two staircases. This one, I don't know if it's better or worse, honestly.
That's the differences?
Yep. Back into more of our coulee landscape. So before we head back down, I'd like to talk to us about some of the animals and stuff that we see up here on top of the prairies. So one of the animals that we'll see lots throughout here is whitetail deer. We get the occasional mule deer, but mostly whitetail deer.
Mitch, out siya, Mitch. Mo down siya.
And one way to tell that whitetail deer have been here is sheds. So deer lose their antlers every year. These are antlers. Lots of people like to call them horns. These are antlers, not horns. Horns are hollow. Antlers are solid. So you guys can pass these around. This is a whitetail deer. Whitetail deer, yeah. So whitetail deer and mule deer have slightly different shaped antlers. This whitetail deer, they have kind of one main antler and the other prongs that come up out of it. Mule deer will have more of Y and V shapes. So they'll grow more upwards with then their points growing off of those main points. So this is one of them. They shed them once a year.
Wow.
And so you can find them. Lots of people, it's called shed
Ano na lang para
hunting,
dire.
where you go out walking through the prairies and looking for the sheds that the deer have dropped.
What people use those for?
I mean,
Dog bones.
it depends. Yeah, you can buy them at pet stores in like chunks as bones. They have lots of traditional uses. They were used for different tools.
For hunting.
Now lots of people just collect them. But they do have lots of traditional uses for different bones and tools and knife handles, things like that. It's backwards. In the springtime. Yep. So lots of times if you see like scrapings on a tree, the deer will scrape their antlers for multiple different reasons, sometimes trying to get them off. Males will also use it to mark their territory. So it's kind of putting their scent on a different tree. Thank you. So we're gonna head back down the stairs now. Again, just be kind of careful on these stairs. We're gonna kind of stop once we get to the bottom.
Miss,
And we'll talk
down.
about a couple of animals that we see more in the bottom of the valley now.
Okay na ka ha.
Mitch, on na, Mitch. Paano lang pa...
Putihan no? Murag 1 inch. Wa nagtitid kahoy ani. Nindot pud ni dire. Nan dito.
Brina, balik sa Brina.
Brena,
Diri sa ako yung kuan. Dina. Balik sa
move
Brina.
forward. Kamu dong, Abi. Kamu sa dong.
Di Brina. Supi.
Okay.
Dali. Give us 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, dito.
1, 2, 3.
You take the whole tree with you?
Kila. Di. Sila meet di mas nampa picture din.
Picture me.
I don't know. The size
Nih, kisah cellphone.
Anong cellphone lang?
Gara.
Dito dia eh. Be.
going.
One of our other scavengers on trees this summer. There's a different one right now that you can use for fall. Awesome, good job. Awesome, last stairs, I promise. So now when we move into this coulee landscape, we're getting a different amount of diversity with plants and animals that we have. So in these heavily treed areas, you'll still get some deer, but they're going to move throughout these thick areas a lot less. So we're going to get smaller animals. So things like rabbits and raccoons and squirrels and birds and porcupines. Porcupines are a really interesting one. I have here, these are some porcupine quills. So you can pass those around if you want. So they're big quills. And what happens with porcupine quills is when they get stuck in something, they have barbs on them, similar to like a fish hook. So it's a lot harder to pull out. You can't just pull it out like a needle. It has barbs on it, so you kind of have to rip it out. So yeah, they're a lot bigger than people think. You often don't get to see them up close. But yeah, those. Yeah, they do. They're really, really sharp. So yeah, we have lots of animals in this area. The Qu'Appelle Valley has about 225 different species of birds. So because there's so much different diversity in landscape, we have water birds. We have the birds that live in this forested area, and then the prairie birds as well.
This doesn't look like it looks like a candle.
Like a what?
Candle.
A candle? It's a new one, right? Yeah, I've never heard that one before. Lots of people say they look like toothpicks. They're a lot sharper than toothpicks, though. We use, to get them out of the porcupine, if the porcupine dies, we use a leather glove. So you hit the leather glove on the back of the porcupine and then you rip the glove off because the barbs stick into the leather like skin. So 'cause you can't really pluck them out without getting one in your finger. So yeah, we use a leather glove to then rip them out. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Let's go, guys. We're almost.
Kanang bakbak.
Mura kog nalingaw karon. Mura kog nalingaw.
Oh, ini medyo cute.
Daddy showed you that's cool. Porcupines are really good climbers and they like to eat.
Ang ako yung pinakaganahan kampinan katong nagbabaw lagi. Katong ikabuntag sa hindi makita ba.
It's a little bit of a steep downhill.
Yeah.
And if you stay to your right, there's a little bit like some kind of makeshift log stairs, so just be careful. It's a little bit steep. Sounds ready? Other side.
Kaya kasi may ginagahay kayo orang gamit alag paddle.
Ganahan ko ni kay humok. Oh, ayaw.
Uy, don't run.
Betsy, don't do that.
Kumbaga sa squat siya rin.
Gabi gani pag nililig ko sa bintana sa test box, nagkong kita tong kahoy. O ba kay sasko diri na.
Masa na siya?
Gatambay-tambay.
Dako ka tao.
Dari na nang handanan gamay. Yeah, a little stairs. Wood.
Oh.
Okay, you wanna run? Yeah. Hold on.
Only one of them. Only one of them.
Dili na.
Finish mountain bike yan.
Nothing.
Fuzzy feathers, so that means they have two different types of feathers. They have the big feathers on top and then they have little fluffy feathers underneath. More.
Oh, I stepped on a stick.
Katulog yung luhukin ni sa
And
Ontario.
big birds of prey, yeah, owls, hawks,
Supi akong tutukan pa guys.
Nag-walking din ako.
Itong sa canyon. Itong sa suspension.
That's a pretty good guess. We saw a hawk on our first hike.
What do you think?
I've seen great horned owls in here.
Nest na siya.
Maybe there will be another one.
You see it?
A tree?
Up on the tree there's a nest.
I know how to try my someone with a spider. I want to watch him jump off the
Is that what you think you can do?
That's a full method.
Watch somebody's gonna jump.
One.
There at that tip of the tree.
Oops.
Camping ka din.
He's like, what are those people?
Go back.
What are those things?
Get back.
Oh.
Why doesn't he?
There.
There
Just
you go.
jump.
He doesn't move.
Nothing in this room. It's like it makes a sound.
Sa isiban na wala game mo makita inani no?
Wala.
May bukid dito. Ako to sigurong sa road stairs ba?
Hard pa raw. Wala sa dingon sa kong kauban lang eh. Kain na raw. Ini?
Di sa inyo. Di ba ka mag-baking soda ang yan?
Di natin lain.
Huwag man ka nag-iwan.
Oo na, happy to tayo man na.
Dad, it's the end of the trip.
That's it? Yep, that's it. Through there, there's a hiking trail sign if you're interested in doing any of the other trails in the parks. We have hot dogs and stuff, and there is a scavenger hunt you can do as well. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much. Yeah, so all the trails are color coded. So on the map, if the trail has a blue line, you'd follow the dark blue posts. So like Badger Trail is orange, Deer Trail is green, so the Interpretive Trail is dark blue. So there's Mink Trail, which is right down there, which is light blue, so you'd follow the light blue posts. So it just makes it easier to follow. Yeah.
Can you